obviously that we all see reality changing. One thing we don't have in common is the reason why. We see the Bible changing and don't need to ask who is responsible. When we see secular changes, we assume we know. Perspective is always relative to the observer's experiences and beliefs. In other words, beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, which I think we can all relate to. Is it possible to have the correct perspective and still not have the full picture? In other words, is it possible to be both right and wrong at the same time? If you're in possession of, let's say, 1 or 2 puzzle pieces, would you feel confident that you knew what the entire picture looked like, or would you feel limited in your perspective? Consider the analogy of the blind man and an elephant and compare it to the varying perspectives of the Mandela Effect community. If you're not familiar with it, the blind man and the elephant is a parable that originates from ancient India, and it revolves around a group of blind men who encounter an elephant for the first time. Each blind man touches a different part of the elephant's body. Based on their limited experiences, they describe the animal in varying ways. There are 3 key takeaway points. The first one being limited perspective. Each blind man perceives only a fragment of the entire truth. For example, one man grabs the tail and likens it to a rope. Another touches the leg and thinks it's a tree trunk. Another man grabs a flapping ear and perceives it to be a fan. The next takeaway is subjective truth. Their descriptions differ because they focus solely on their own experiences. They don't consider that others might have equally valid but different perspectives. And the last and most important takeaway is the moral lesson. The parable teaches that humans often claim absolute truth based on their limited viewpoints, and we tend to ignore others' equally valid experiences, leading to misunderstandings and conflicts. That should sound very familiar to some of you. If Jesus has entrusted each one of us with specific pieces of the puzzle, we need to do a much better job of working together. And as my brother Jeremy, who is also a member of this community, recently commented to Guy Fawkes, it's not about who's first or gets the most points with the ME, it's about who gets the message. This community has spent a lot of time trying to get the blind to see, but why do we do that? Well, we do it because we understand there are consequences to not seeing, especially the Bible changes. Some changes in the Bible are so subtle that even we have a hard time distinguishing if a word is changed or not. And other times, the changes are so obvious, we don't know how people cannot see it, such as in Isaiah 11:6. If the ME community ever expects to move forward, you need to start by distinguishing the difference between the Bible changes and secular changes. The community is facing a dilemma, and we have been ever since we noticed the change in that particular word. Do we continue down this same path of confusion that we've been down for years, or do we start working together and share our perspectives? If we've been given the ability to see reality changing, then we also have been given a sound mind and ability to think critically. If we can distinguish the difference between the wheat and the tares, we can also distinguish the difference between the Mandela Effect and the Bible changes. 2 things are for certain. Jesus is not changing the Bible, and Satan did not change the position of your heart to the center of your chest. Two things are for certain. Jesus is not changing the Bible, and Satan did not change the position of your heart to the center of your chest. So let me explain the parable that Jesus is showing us in the Dilemma Mandela Effect. To the unaffected, dilemma, spelled the old way, and dilemma, spelled the new way, look and sound alike at first glance. But dilemma, spelled the old way, is the way we remember it, which makes it true. Dilemma, spelled the new way, makes it an impostor and false. Like the wolf laying with the lamb, or a weed pretending to be wheat. So, did you know that besides a dilemma, there is also something called a false dilemma? So I want you to compare a false dilemma to a lie. And a false dilemma is defined as an informal fallacy based on a premise that limits what options are available. Fallacies usually appear to be correct through misleading appearances. So another way of looking at a false dilemma and comparing it to the way that the majority of the community has assumed the Bible changes and secular changes are the same is to say, the Bible changes are obviously the work of the devil. Therefore, the Mandela effect must be the work of the devil. The option excluded and not considered is that the Mandela effect is from Jesus. So now do you see the dilemma? No point values or awards for me, just delivering the message.
You live
in
a zoo.
You
Look like a monkey. And
You smell like
one, two.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
I want to tell you my secret now. I see dumb people.
In your dreams? While you're awake? Dumb people like in your school or out in the streets?
Walking around like regular people. I see dumb people. I see dumb people.
Yo, yo, yo! Here we go! This is a Pinkwinati production. From the Sagittarius arm Earth to the Orion planet. Welcome to your new Earth. Welcome to your new normal.
If you see the supernatural Bible changes and join in the effort of warning others, there are some things that you discern really well as an awake Christian. One is you understand better than any other Christian that Jesus Christ himself is the unchanging Word. The Word and the Word of God sounds the same, but of course they are infinitely different, as we all know. Only one of them is actually unchanging. You have also worked out to the point of conviction that the famine of God's Word is not our Bibles to be confiscated and thrown into an incinerator, because it is actually very deceptive, undetected, supernatural changes, slowly stealing truth a word at a time. You understand what changing times and laws means, and know that we are living it right now. You know what the abomination of desolation is, standing in the holy place, and what that cryptic hint of "whoso readeth, let him understand" means. Now, of course, with a smiley face at the end of that term for us to also get the enemy's hint, they know that the sealed know. But in discerning all of these accurate facts, there is still confusion of this full supernatural experience. Why is the Kit Kat hyphen missing? The VW logo separated, the monocle missing on the Monopoly Man, movie titles changed, names changed, and so many other changes outside of the Bible. Do you have the convicted answer to that yet? Well, you won't. You simply can't know the answer to that if you keep blaming Satan for that part of this spiritual war. The fact you are still confused means the author of confusion is intercepting your ability to see the truth, clarity. The community's current belief and bias of the secular changes does not give clarity and lead us all out of the confusion. You can't tell others in your message that you understand why those changes are happening with the same energy, tone, and conviction that you can about the Bible changes. By that comparison, we know that none of us are confused as to who is changing the Bible and why. The two big factors that mean everything in that space, the who and the why. We knew the answer to that truth in our spirits instantly, the very moment the Lord woke us up. And then finding and interpreting certain scriptures correctly has made that knowing even more solid. Have you asked yourself, and in fact each other also, why are you not at the same solid conclusion with the secular changes on the who and the why? The answer is because what you believe and are led to believe just does not fit to everything else. It does not fit at all to what the enemy is doing in his moves within this spiritual battle. He fights hard and plays dirty. The fact is that the secular changes seem so insignificant that they don't hold the attention of many for long. It just does not match the enemy's style. No change in the Bible is insignificant. Each change is significant and like the familiar enemy sword cutting deep. All the moves of the enemy. It's clear as being detrimental. How does a missing hyphen in Kit Kat fit to that? It doesn't. Let me ask you this. Who have you been blaming for all the changes to our body? The heart moving to the center of our chests. Do you believe Jesus gave his creation over to Satan to have control of? The one who is all about killing and destroying? Jesus has obviously given him control of paper and ink with the Bible. And look at the mess the enemy has made of that. I think it is likely all of us would be a mess and a half also, to the point of just as hideous if Satan had control over our organs, bones, and appearance. The Bible is a mess now. The last time I checked, our bodies were still perfectly designed in that all parts of the body work together to keep us alive. We are still a vessel that is an undeniable miracle from the Creator. It is far more likely our body changes are removed from Jesus to adjust mankind to the environmental assault on us from the enemy. Brant and I put to you that this is also a very big clue that you are missing as to who is responsible for the changes outside of the Bible. I think it's fair to say that Brant and I have been hammering this message home to all of you for a number of years, and it has fallen on deaf ears. Why is that? Do you believe we are wrong without research and prayer? Or is it that you will reject important truth from two people you don't seem to like very much? Maybe it's both. But I ask you this. What if Brant and I are right and all of you have been ignoring our consistent message, and Jesus himself later confirms he sent the two of us with this message consistently because he wanted you to see it, know it, and understand it? How are you going to feel in that future scenario? At that point in time, you would have to accept you have not been any different in conduct to the blind Christians not listening to your message of Bible changes, dismissing us as they dismiss you. Do you think Brant and I would be any less frustrated trying to get this message to all of you as you are frustrated in trying to get the Bible changes message to the church? I can confirm we are more frustrated by this community not listening to us about secular changes because the two of us are living both scenarios and know which is a heavier burden on us and more incomprehensible. We have that message that we share with all of you for the church, and an additional message for all of you who see. What makes this with all of you more frustrating and incomprehensible for us is that you are the community that should know that anything is possible. You should be investigating everything, praying on it all, and waiting for your confirmations from Jesus Christ. Taking all evidence seriously because you still don't have the answers. So why are you not doing that? Is the question Brant and I are left with. Why? Just like you ask, why can the church not see? We wonder why you cannot understand that you should not be dismissing anything based on opinion, jumping to conclusions, or troublesome bias. Not on gossip either. Some of you might stand out from the crowd and say, well, okay, maybe Jesus is making some changes. But what does that really matter? Because we can just put our faith in Jesus to work this hot mess out. That is a fair point. But then I ask you, why would it matter then if blind Christians say that exact same thing to you about the Bible changes? Jesus can work it all out if the enemy is doing that. He is strong enough to do that. Truth is truth. You either want it or you don't. My own mother says, well, if the Bible is changing, what can I do about it? And she always says it in such a dismissing way, it has nearly done my head in. I just cannot meet her at that place. My answer is always, well, at the very least, you can speak the truth of it. Join the voices to make the message of truth louder rather than just live out your life like nothing significant is happening when it is. She knows that the line has changed and the Meet the Millers movie changed to We're the Millers. So how is that mindset and response any different to this community not caring about the truth of who is making the secular changes? Do you not understand there is a why behind the who, and you cannot get to the why without first knowing the truth of the who? It is definitely important to see what Satan is doing to sidestep his ambush, but isn't it far more important to see what Jesus is doing in his love for us all? To honour him in that way, and in addition, to fight against Satan trying to hide what Jesus is doing. You must know the only reason the enemy would be blinding and blocking you to this truth is because what is attached to the truth of it leads to something good for all of us. Why would the enemy want any of us sealed to have that? He might not, but Brant wants you to see and be led to the good that is attached to it. I want you to know. I really, really do. Brant's brother Jeremy does. He is backing up his brother and me, not only because he knows us, but because Jesus woke him up to it and called him to stand beside Brant. Robin and Lily want you to know as well, and they are two of God's awake messengers you should not underestimate in anointing. Lydia joins us. We know she is underestimated, just like others were that God used. Carl and Yvonne are right behind us in their roles the Lord assigned them with, having complete faith in the two of us as we have in them. And most importantly, Jesus wants you to know. We are not alone in our passionate desire for you to understand this. If you are wondering why Jesus would be making all of those seemingly insignificant changes in reality, coined by the world as the Mandela effect rather than the Jesus Christ effect, you have obviously not been paying attention to our various attempts to share that with you in the last 3 years. We know the answer to that too, but only because Jesus gave me a vision to show where all those changes fit, which reveal what they all mean. One would think, in normal circumstances, not knowing the answers of this and continually calling for the answers would motivate you all to listen to anyone presenting possible answers. At least listen. Motivate you all to be interested in their message, to ask them questions about it, and spark a real desire to test that message. But we get crickets generally, except a few exceptions. Much like you get crickets from the church. So don't think you have all been exempt from a blinding by way of lack of interest to more truth. While you stay confused by this individual change and that individual change, the enemy is perfectly happy. And while you blame him for those secular changes, you have no hope to see the truth and unlock the way out of this maze. We know this to be true. That is why we keep trying with all of you like you keep trying with the church. We're annoyed, like you are annoyed, frustrated like you are frustrated, and close to giving up, but not quite there. One fundamental clue that we have brought up before is, have you asked yourself, why does the media mock and dismiss the secular changes, but you never hear anything said by them about the Bible changes? That is because there are two different supernatural events by two different beings, and only one of those beings is mocked and dismissed. That is Jesus Christ. That is why the Bible changes go under the radar and the Mandela effect is active. Each article is full of confabulation, misremembering, new medical labels, or over-exaggerating a sci-fi style explanation that people deem to be ridiculous. The heads in the media and Hollywood know it is Jesus making those changes, and likely because they know they are not making them. If the media knows the difference, and Hollywood knows the difference, and the enemy's full team know, why don't you, God's awake ones, want to know? Take a look at the new movie about Kellogg's called Frosted. It has Melissa McCarthy in this movie, who was also in the TV show recorded in Australia called God's Favourite Idiot, that Brant and I have spoken about before. This movie Frosted is about Kellogg's, which is of course an ME with the 2 G's in the spelling now. This brand name also has ME cereal name changes. Fruit Loops is a big one. You will see within that movie on the front of a box the name Fruit Loops spelt how we all remember it. Fruit spelt like first fruits, as you are. They are mocking us. They are mocking Jesus and his change. You can thank Brent for spotting that one. He doesn't miss much. And don't overlook the name Isaiah Lamb in that movie. That name is not used by coincidence. You can listen just to the trailer to pick that gem up. Isaiah Lamb. What are the chances? Are you ready for truth? Or is this ongoing confusion worth living in simply because you don't want to hear truth from the two of us? You should know if Jesus validates the two of us later, himself personally, that will only mean you have definitely overlooked something important because you misjudged us. That done to two of God's messengers who were already doing it as tough as you before all the rest was added. And when you pull on that string to work out how you could have missed what was in front of you that Jesus wanted you to see, he will of course travel back and find Harbinger of the Harvest as the one blocking you to this. Maybe you will all be looking at him for an explanation at that time. And maybe that will be an explanation that he cannot provide. Ernie sits at the head of influence against Brant and myself, and a few others in this community just below him. He has absolutely led this community away from us, and therefore away from this message. And wouldn't the enemy influence someone to do that if we had the truth? Sounds like him. Feels definitely like him. And that is what has happened. And it's not up for debate. You have a choice today as someone with an awake label attached to you that means something as to what you call a lying sign and wonder. Ernie claims, to our understanding, that the changes outside of the Bible are also lying signs and wonders. We claim he is as wrong about that as he is about us, and that those changes are from Jesus for a well-purposed reason. Those changes are from Jesus for a well-purposed reason. Those changes are from Jesus for a well-purposed reason. We are not against our awake brother Ernie, but we are against how the enemy has used him to conceal this truth. The OxyClean spelling change. Is that a lying sign and wonder? Or a direct message from Jesus to clean up your act and put the cryptic puzzle together properly? Whoso readeth, let him understand. Cryptic is the Lord's way for this time, especially designed that way to keep it from others not yet ready. You are the ones supposed to be ready for it. Do Brant and I have to beg you to put your cryptic glasses on? Force them on your face like in the scene from the movie They Live? Pick up your risky business glasses given to you by The Rock in the song Old Time Rock and Roll and put them on. Put them on finally. You are going to see something you have not been able to see before if you do. The Lord is trying to show you something, and whether you like it or not, we were the ones sent to you to show you this particular truth. I was given the vision and the responsibility to bring it to you. Brant was sent to you with the who, and I have been sent to you with the why, through my vision. Through my vision.
I want to tell you my secret now. I see dumb people.
Brant points to the rock in old-time rock and roll, and I'm pointing to the pink shirt that Tom Cruise is now wearing. Jesus, the rock and cornerstone, speaks to me, and because of that, I put those glasses on and I see clearly. It sure has been risky business, though. Like your own brethren will throw you under the bus for it. All glory to Jesus Christ in how he is battling against the moves of the enemy and what he sent Brant and I to show you of that.
This has been a Cincinnati production. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos. If you'd like to support the channel, links are in the description.